United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Before we start our regular meeting, we're going to go, you can hide the agenda for a minute, and Councilman King is going to start the Black History Month off with some presentations and some talk, and I'm going to turn it over to Councilman King to do his program. And do you need any help with that?
Yes, sir. When we get to this part, I'd ask that the board members come and help me present.
Okay.
That's okay. So good evening, everyone. And good evening, everyone at home. I'd like to welcome you to the town of Highlands. If you're from out of town, I see a few folks who are not local here, but you're welcomed here. And we want to do a quick and brief but meaningful celebration in this day, which we are going to proclaim as the Black History Month program for the town of Highlands. And so I'm going to start by reading, but what is Black History Month and why do we even do it? Maybe many of you know, a lot of smart folks out there, but just for my sake, I'm going to read it. And I wanted to practice with my new glasses I got here. Let's see. National Black History Month has its origin in 1915, when historian and author Dr. Carter G. Woodson founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. This organization is now known as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, better known as ASLA. I didn't know that part, but now I do. ASLA is the abbreviation. Through this organization, Dr. Woodson initiated the first Negro History Week in February of 1926. Dr. Woodson selected the week in February that included the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. Now think about that. So way back then, somebody thought enough to say, okay, the significance of Abraham Lincoln, the significance of Frederick Douglass, and we're going to start the week of February on their birthdays to celebrate the history of Black people. So this organization, ASLA, was urging all Americans to recognize the important contribution made to our nation's life and culture that was contributed by Black citizens. In 1976, it was expanded. The commemoration of Black history was expanded in the United States from a week-long observation to Black History Month. 1976, write that down. Which also has been known as African American History Month. In the same year, President Ford issued, and in subsequent years, the presidents behind him issued a proclamation celebrating Black History Month. How many people in here remember President Ford? Not a lot of hands going up there. In 1986, Congress passed Public Law 99-244, which designated February 1986 as National Black Afro-American History Month. This law noted that February 1st, 1986 would mark the beginning of the 60th annual public and private salute to Black history. The law further directed the president to issue a proclamation calling on the people of the United States to observe February 1986 as Black History Month. Now, by that time, I was in the Army. I didn't really remember all that happening, but I was there in the United States Army, February 1986, when Black History Month was then proclaimed. Presidential Proclamation 5443. Which proclaimed that the foremost purpose of Black History Month is to make all Americans aware of this struggle for freedom and equality and opportunity This proclamation stated further that this month was a time to celebrate the many achievements of African Americans in every field, from science and the arts to politics and religion. Since 1996, presidents have issued annual proclamations for National Black History Month over and over again. It's been a tradition. And then the Senate made a resolution in 1996. It was Senate Resolution 229, commemorating Black History Month and the contributions of Black Americans, in particular those who rose to the level of Black U.S. senators. I don't know if you knew, after the Reconstruction period, when slavery was abolished, a lot of folks that were from the African American community started to run for political offices, particularly in the South. And so you had this wave of new Black senators way back then. So let's talk about that tradition of presidents making this proclamation. Well, I found out that on January 31st, 2025, by the President of the United States of America, a proclamation. Today, I am very honored to recognize February 2025 as National Black History Month. Every year, National Black History Month is an occasion to celebrate the contributions of so many Black American patriots who have indelibly shaped our nation's history. Throughout our history, Black Americans have been among our country's most consequential leaders, shaping the cultural and political destiny of our nation in profound ways. American heroes such as Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Thomas Sowell, Justice Clarence Thomas, and countless others represent what is best in America and her citizens. Their achievements, which have monumentally advanced the tradition of equality remember that word equality, under the law in our great country, continue to serve as an inspiration for all Americans. We will also never forget the achievements of American greats like Tiger Woods, who have pushed the boundaries of excellence in their respective fields, paving the way for others to follow. This National Black History Month, as America prepares to enter a historic golden age, I want to extend my tremendous gratitude to Black Americans for all they have done to bring us to this moment, and for the many future contributions they will make as we advance into the future. Limitless possibilities under my administration. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and of the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim February 2025 as National Black History Month. So there you have it, folks. There's the facts. So all the way back to 1915, 1926, when it was coming into play, to this day, it's still proclaimed that in America, we still celebrate this particular culture. So, with that being said, how are we going to celebrate here in the town of Highlands is look at some of those contributions that's been made by some of our service members right down the street at West Point, New York, United States Army Military Academy. They've come into our community, transferred here from other places, but while they're in here, they try to make a difference, and they contribute to the community. So that being said, council folks, could you help me make these presentations, please?
I'll get the gate for you.
So if we could have the folks from Keller.
What you say, I would have take that away from
Keller, we have some folks from Keller Army Hospital, we have some folks, look like the colonel, look like the command sergeant major is here. Oh yeah. And then we got a high-speed staff sergeant of the United States Army is here. So then along, if you could stand right up there, please. And then along with them, we have two of the Army's best commissioned officers, in my opinion. They just happen to be married to each other, Captain and Captain Knox. And Baby Knox. So what we do is you can hold them, and Nancy can take them off. Councilwoman, please. And then I'll read it as we bring it up.
Okay.
So this first one is Colonel, right? This is the commander? So you look different in civilian clothes. Threw me off. But it was your predecessors actually who came before you that laid the path for you, and I have no doubt, based off our first interaction, when you were given the baton to your new sergeant major, that you're going to continue that tradition and we can continue our partnership. But I have to give a shout out to Colonel Bree Parada and Command Sergeant Major Rich Chandler. Those two I met on New Year's of 2022, I think it was, somewhere around there, maybe 23. But since that time, we were very, very active in the community for a lot of events. And so we wanted to honor them. I regretfully didn't do it while they were here, but I want to pass this to you all, just as something as you put on your wall to continue that tradition of Keller Army Hospital. So MLK Day 2025, the Dream is Alive Award goes to Keller Army Community Hospital for steadfast commitment to freedom and justice for all demonstrated by the leadership and exceptional support and participation of your unit in the town of Highlands from MLK Day from 2023 to 2025. And so, sir, Sergeant Major, we just want to thank you for your service.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all you do for your soldiers and for the residents of our community. And let's give them a round of applause. Well, being the reserve, the Sergeant Major should be in the center. Well, I'm a Sergeant Major too.
Oh, sorry.
So keeping in that tradition, well, I'm gonna say, you just hold on. But we didn't forget old Rich Chandler. Presented to Command Sergeant Major Rich Chandler from Keller Army Hospital in appreciation and recognition for your many years of outstanding dedication and commitment to our community partnership from 2022 to 2025. Now you tell Rich that I didn't have enough money for sending mail and stuff, so I'm gonna give it to y'all. I'm gonna pass it to you all. You can send it to us.
Definitely. More than happy to get this to Rich. Thank you so much.
Hold up, don't go nowhere. So now we got the two who I call the most professional captains I've run into in a long time, and they just have to be married. But they are some phenomenal singers. If you ain't heard them sing, you have missed the treat. But they blessed us on MLK Day at St. Mark's Church with some selections. And quite frankly, Mrs. Knox here, she sang for us at James Almeida High School last year for Black History Month and for the high school students. And so we just had to have our encore this year, and she brought her other half with her, and they just put on a show. So what they are receiving is a award that we created in the name of two of our most beloved residents that are now no longer with us. So they're going to receive, both of them, the Reverend Jesse and First Lady Barbara Joyce Claiborne MLK March Founders Award, presented to Captain Elliot Knox as a volunteer and Captain Anaya Knox. As volunteers, you have demonstrated dedication and commitment to making this event possible for several years. You are the epitome of the spirit of servant leadership that was shown by Reverend and Mrs. Claiborne at St. Mark's Baptist Church. And we just thank you guys for being so important to us here, and we wish you the best, and thank you for your service. She's the one that's going to put you in the newspaper. No, so we hold that one. Okay, so this is the last one, folks, and this one here is a very interesting award. How many people remember the Buffalo Soldiers that were stationed here at West Point? Maybe a few. Particularly, if some, maybe one or two remember Sergeant James Matthews, whose face is on the monument over there. But there was a cohort of those guys that was very strong leaders in the Army, and then they transitioned into the community and did phenomenal things. I think some of them stayed at West Point as civil servants, continued to work for the government. and now they stayed so long that they buried over there in West Point. And so this particular gentleman here was a great leader. And so what I learned about him, though, is after his service as a Buffalo soldier, he became a employee over there, and he worked in customer service. And he was good. And so people talked about it all over the installation. And so then we created this award last year, and we presented it for the first time, and his daughter came from Arizona, and his other daughter came. It was a big deal. So this year we picked a person that I happened to run into myself personally at the Keller Army Hospital as I was going through for something, and then I asked the question, and one person stood up and popped to what we call the position of parade rest in the military, and he rattled off all the answers, and I was like, wow, I hadn't seen that in a long time. I said, now where are you from, and what do you do, and so forth. So later I contacted the Keller Army Command Sergeant Major. I said, I just ran into this young non-commissioned officer. I just wanted to let you know what happened. And then he told me that guy is one of our best soldiers. And so I said, well, guess what? He is now selected for this Sergeant First Class, retired Edward Smith, Buffalo Soldiers Customer Service Award, which is presented to Staff Sergeant, how do you pronounce your name? Anakwemi, Sergeant, U.S. Army Pathology Department, right? Did I get that right? So look, don't worry about it, we'll fix it. You know what I'm talking about. So what, he was Keller Army Hospital, West Point, New York. Let's get it up. Now, folks, I'll leave the best for last. If you didn't know, our town supervisor is a veteran, a retired veteran who served in Vietnam, and if you got any words to say, I'd like him to say them.
Well, how do I follow that act? That's what I'd like to say. How do I... Ty, you did a beautiful ceremony. You're a credit to the Black History Month and rememberers, and you do a great job, and no matter what you do for us here in the town, it's always a great job, and I appreciate everything you do for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. Now, I got you up front, so you don't have to stay for the meeting if you don't want to, but you're welcome to. And thank you for my colleague over at Cornwall on the town board at Cornwall, Miss Virginia. Thank you. You're always supporting us, all the way from Cornwall. Lieutenant Colonel retired Mims Johnson, thank you for your presence. And I see you brought your manager with you. No, you don't have to stay. Oh, you want to announce it? Or you want me to announce it? One last note on Black History. Town of Highlands Special Events Committee is going to do a Black History Month poem essay contest. It starts now. You can start writing your poem, and it's due by March 10th. We're calling all high school students, grades 9 through 12, in honor of Black History Month. We invite you to create and share a poem and/or essay about a historical event in Black history, or write about a historical African-American individual. No AI entries, please. That means I'm out. First place winner gets 2 seats to the town of Highlands / the Center of Highland Falls motor coach bus trip to the June 14th National Museum. Is that what I'm talking about? National? Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., plus a citation and an e-blast. Second place winner gets 1 seat to the same trip above, social media. And see myself or the Center of Highland Falls for any further questions. Thank you so much for the volunteers, and a round of applause one last time, and we're done.
Can I say something, Mr. King?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He does a lot of these, and if I remember right, somebody can fact check me. On Juneteenth, you had, Mervyn was a Civil War guy, and you had Frederick Douglass, who I believe was Derek Hunter. And he said that day, someone can check this, Frederick Douglass, under a woman presidential candidate ran as a vice president. I don't remember her name, but I think I'm right on that. Someone can fact check me.
Wow, you jogged my memory on that one. I forgot. But that's interesting. Thank you.
Now the boring town supervisor will take over the meeting according to our agenda. And is there any public comment on agenda items at all? Any public comment on anything on the agenda? Check it out there. Look at her back there. She's getting ready to say something. Come on down.
I just have a question. You have flood zone insurance under general business.
Yeah, I don't know who you are. Could you tell everybody who you are?
Olivia, village resident.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a question about the flood zone insurance.
Yes.
Is the town of Highlands, are we designated as a flood zone, or are we not?
Kelly, maybe you can answer much better than I can.
This is specific to the sewer plant,
Okay.
and there is some debate about whether or not it's actually in the flood zone.
Thanks for the question.
Anyone else? Agenda items? Okay, I got the previous minutes, January 27th. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. On communications, I received a note from Stella Bailey asking me to write a letter in support of an application that the Fort Montgomery Battle Site put in to repair the Twin Forts Trail at Fort Montgomery Historic State Historic Site. Boy. The trail is in bad shape. They asked Greenway for a grant to repair the trail, and the same day I got her note, and I wrote a letter to the right person at Greenway, Andy Kitzman. So just want everybody to know that hopefully that helped and that it's in the works. If anybody's used the trail over there, it is in rough shape. The storms have not helped it, and it's kind of rough to walk on. Okay, I transferred $158,743 from the consolidated account to the paying account to cover this week's check run. The big items are Highland Falls Library first quarter town contribution, $69,437. MVP Healthcare for insurance in February, $45,108. Our legal services, $8,569. Lexipol for training for police, $4,633. Orange and Rockland for January utilities, $4,535. Any questions from the board or anyone else? Board liaison. Boy, oh boy, I'm tongue-tied. I don't even want to call you guys. With the lady over here, I'd like to report on her
I
activities.
guess we're unpleasing our boss over there, huh?
No, right?
Transfers?
Did you transfers first?
No, I got it somewhere in the agenda. No, good point though, but we'll get it later.
So, because Councilman DeWitt is not here this evening, he just asked that I mention on his behalf in 2 weeks, and Olga, you may say more about this later, I'm not sure, but about the community choice aggregation. Is that part of, that's not your thing. So, sorry. Monday, February 24th, so 2 weeks from today at 6 p.m. before this meeting, for our next meeting, there's going to be a meeting here about the community choice aggregate, which is the energy choice, right? So that'll be here 6 p.m. on Monday, February 24th. Also, since he has recreation, I will let you know, so he sends the board, Aaron Falk sends the board information on everything that's been going on. They had a pretty good participation. Victor Constant Ski Slope hosted a Town of Highlands night. So folks could go up there and prove their residency and go ski for a reduced price. So that was popular. They had basketball going all weekend. There was a lacrosse clinic that was canceled on Sunday because of the weather. But otherwise, the other big event that's coming up is 2025 Mania, which is the co-ed basketball tournament. That is for grades 5 through 10, and the dates are March 14th and 15th. So it's proven to be a pretty popular event that has happened, and they're looking for cheerleaders and sponsors and anybody that wants to. They have a whole lot of prizes that are going to be given out for all kinds of things during the weekend. But it's a fun event, so that's going to be coming up. Now because we are nearly halfway through February, Jean Tallman asked me to remind folks that the deadline for all exemptions in the assessor's office, such as veterans exemptions, senior citizen, aged, wholly exempt, and enhanced senior star, is March 1st. That is a Saturday, so the last day to submit the application will be Monday, March 3rd. They are terrific down there with all the programs that go on. I can give you information about that. They're busy this time of year, so if you want to go down and talk to them, they suggest an appointment. It's helpful so that you don't have to wait around. The number there, of course, it's on the website for the town, but it's 845-446-0703, and you select extension 315 or 326. That's Lisa and that's Jean down in the assessor's office. But if you need to, this is the time to get that done, and don't wait to the last minute, because you never know when a snowstorm is going to leave you stranded and you won't be able to get down to Town Hall to do that. So it's really encouraged that homeowners, particularly senior citizens, apply for the New York State tax exemptions. I don't have any other liaison reports, but I will, because it glitched at the last meeting. This has been in the News of the Highlands. Thank you, Mary Jane, for putting that in. And it is on the town website, but I'll remind you again that the disaster relief tax bill that was of 2023, that was signed into law in December of 2024, allows for more generous treatment on your tax return for flood damage. So there are a little bit lower barriers to overcome. You don't have to itemize now to do that. And what happened was, as we all know, when you if you claimed damages on your tax return, this was a federally declared disaster, but it was not a qualified disaster. And a qualified disaster is what brings this different set of standards that makes it a little more, you get something more out of your tax return. So what this act did was turn every disaster from 2020, every natural disaster that was a federal disaster, became a qualified disaster and is subject to that type of treatment. So the way that you handle that, if you've already filed your 2023 tax return, is that you can go back and change that. You amend a return and you just look at the way I think it's going to happen is that you just say, this is a qualified disaster. The way that I do it, they say, here's the form, it's 4684, and they'll say, what was the disaster? We all know the code was NY, or DR 4723, NY was the flood. And then you indicate there somewhere that it's a qualified disaster, and then it should set you up for that. So. That also, those pages in the article that's linked to is on the Town of Highlands website. I think that's everything I have.
Councilwoman Swartha, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Councilman King.
Not much from me tonight, but I will say two things. Thank you, Supervisor. One is in regards to the opening of the door there about the subject of disaster and emergency management. The only thing I want to say in regards to that, I finally got Sally and Olga at the building at the same time, so I just want to once again say thank you for what you all do, and you do an incredible job. So we talk levels. So that disaster and emergency from a strategic level is more what my colleague is just talking about, when you have to plan for things that are above our, as you say, pay grade with FEMA and different things. But then there's a tactical level, what's happening on the ground. And so let me use an example. So during the heat of the summer last year, we had over 100-degree temperatures consistently for weeks. And then in the midst of that, you had people that didn't have anywhere to go to cool down. Well, who put together a chain of volunteers that can keep a cooling station open to immediately cool people down? And that was Sally Deutsch. And she and I talked very frequently about that. And we had some people that we had to get in there and get them cooled down quickly. So that's the tactical, on-the-ground level. So without folks like you and the other teammates out there, we would be in a world of hurt. So thank you again for that. Both you and Olga have maybe some information about the upcoming or previous meetings. So I'll let you talk on that, as I haven't been able to go personally. You know, I've been out of town in Columbia University, but in my stead, you all have been doing a great job. So thank you so much. So if you're ready to talk about it now, you can.
So, you want to stand up?
Yes, please.
Come, you and partner. So, 21st, right? Next Friday on the 21st, we have the disaster preparedness free training going on at the senior center. I didn't bring the thing, 5 o'clock, right? 6 o'clock, 6 to 8? 6 to 8. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. Actually, Nancy went to last month to
Yes.
Goshen.
Yep, Councilman DeWitt and I, it's excellent. They give you a go bag with all kinds of stuff in it. And it was just great practical.
And during that presentation, Town of Highlands was actually mentioned in
Yes.
that quite a few times.
We were prominently featured in
So
that.
we're actually like an example going on in Orange County right now.
And a good example.
Yes, yes, it's wonderful. I do suggest for our residents to go to this, just to be prepared. We have a lot of different things that are starting to happen now with the disaster preparedness stuff. It's extremely educational. As you know, you went last month or whatever. I'm gonna go. I know a whole bunch of other people are to go, only so that we can get more and more information.
Okay, so the 21st?
Better. Yes, the 21st, next Friday, 6 to 8 at the senior center.
Okay, I'll do my best. I'll try to be there.
Thank you.
And I think you have to register,
You have to
right?
register.
So
Okay.
that they have enough, because you get a whole backpack full
I
of stuff.
left Joe the flyer the last time. He was supposed to put it on the website.
Okay.
I don't know if it was done or not, but I could get you
Yes, get it
the
to,
flyer.
thank you so much. The last thing I'd say is, I've been thinking hard about some things to offer the senior citizens. One in particular, I've been trying with my mother, and those who don't know, Miss King, Juanita, she's gonna, God willing, turn 90 here in a couple of weeks. But what I noticed is, as she begins to age, there's a lot of sometimes anxiety, so one of the things I brought her is a coloring book, believe it or not. And so, it's a scientific fact that if you color, that it'll help you relax, it'll help you beat anxiety, it may even help reduce your blood pressure. Now, how do I know that? Because I go to art therapy classes. All right? So I thought about if it works for my mother, maybe it works for other seniors. Maybe if I can start a coloring club for senior citizens. So if you could just take a poll and see how many people would be interested in that, I would certainly take the lead and start that up. But it's just something I want to offer that it's pretty easy to do. Some crayons and a coloring book, and we in action, okay? That's it, Supervisor.
Councilman Sullivan?
Are you sure you want me to talk?
No.
Mine's not that long tonight, so everybody at home can mute me or not. It's always nice to see people come. Want to recognize everybody. I see we have a trustee from the Village of Highland Falls in the back, Mr. Amos, and Virginia Scott from the town of Cornwall. I'm going to tell you how I met Virginia. Everybody knows I like to fly drones. I won't say where it was at, but it's in the town of Cornwall. I happened to be flying a drone over a property where she was going to be building a future house, and she took a very vested interest in my presence. It turned out to be very nice, but so, you know, that's how we met, about 3 or 4 years ago, whatever it was. So, and I go to some meetings here and there, and I get the Cornwall local, and what I want to applaud Cornwall. Their village and town boards meet together pretty frequently. They do a lot of things together, the mayor and the supervisor of Cornwall. It's nice to see that type of a relationship. So my first thing is going to be on water. At the last meeting, I reported on a spike in usage on a particular property. After a follow-up investigation, it was determined it was just a one-day spike. We went up to 87,000 gallons from our normal 60,000, and it was a particular property. I guess it was a Sunday. Everybody was probably watching the playoffs and just using a lot of water that day. So there was no leak. We followed up on that. Everybody knows I go up to Bog Meadow pretty frequently. I was up there about 6 days ago. It's still down 4 feet. It's not full yet. When this snow melts, that would bring it up probably another foot or two, if it ever melts. It's been cold for a long time. The new water tank we're building is currently idle due to weather. It has been excavated for the walls have been built, the piping has been put in, the concrete has been poured. So the part left to do is prefabricated. They don't weld them together, they bolt them together. They're glass lined. It's quite interesting how they do that. They generally do that in better weather. And I just want to remind everybody that the town does have and has had for the last 10 years or more a 58,000 gallon tank that has been in use, and we use it. And the new one's going to be an additional 195,000 gallons when it's put into service. And so that's my report on water. VRI has been doing their thing. The reports are fine. And I think I reported last meeting, we put a thermometer in the pump house up there and got the cameras working. So when it's cold out, nobody has to go there. You can see that the temperature is 55 degrees, so nobody has to worry about freezing because they're not there every day. Down at the sewer, I reported a few weeks ago some wires down on Mine Road that resulted in burning out a well pump that cost us just shy of $5,000. An indirect byproduct of that well pump going out was our new bar screen requires water at a certain pressure to be able to effectively do its job. The water pressure was too low. That's why it kept tripping out. They went down and replaced the pressure switch on the well down there, which is at 70 PSI now. So the bar screen is not tripping out and it's working fine. That was a problem down there. I was down there today when FCC Contracting is working on the new dog shed, which unofficially, Bob will probably talk more about this, is probably going to be ready by about April 1st. Looks great. There's a lot to it down there. I almost wish I was a dog. I could take residence down in that thing. It's pretty nice, I got to tell you. And last month I reported on the DMR already for the flow for last month and for 2024, which I think 2024 we averaged, I think it was 84,000 gallons per day for that year, which is around 70%, something like that. With the Community Environmental Advisory Committee, I went over the annual report a little bit last month, and I mentioned Earth Day, which is the 22nd, but we're going to be respecting it on the 26th, which is Saturday. There'll be the e-cleanup day. I see at the last village meeting, they approved having it on the municipal lot, as we usually do. And there'll be activities at the library, which have been online, a repair cafe, and all the things that Olga normally sets up. And on the agenda tonight, I see is something to act upon for, I believe it's for an intern, for the clean energy internship proposal. You all should have gotten that in your emails on the agenda. I guess we'll be acting on that later on. On February 16th, which is coming this Sunday at 9 o'clock in the morning. Olga and I had a discussion about having a winter hike. We had a couple of very nice summer hikes in the last couple of years. We all know what the weather is. There's snow on the ground. It's going to snow again Thursday. We're going to go for it. At least I'm going to be there 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. And this is at your own risk. And if you would like to go, up on Mine Road, where the last house is at, there's a parking lot, which is dirt, where people park. If there's room in there, there normally is. You can park on the road. I'm going to take people down into Popolopan Gorge. There's some ancient ruins down there associated with when this town's primary industry was mining, and a few other things of interest. Nice little less than 2-mile hike. I'm probably going to use snowshoes. Come prepared for snow, because it's not going to melt before then if you choose to come. And that'll be at 9 o'clock. Anything I said that's not accurate, Olga? Okay, so looking forward to that. Nancy, did you talk about the ZBA at all?
I did not.
Okay, there's not much to talk about. They did have 2 things before the deadline. They're not reorganized completely yet. So they will be meeting on the 19th, which is the 3rd Wednesday of the month, here at 7 o'clock. They have 2 items which they initiate the process, and everything they do before they make a final decision requires a public hearing one way or another. And for those that don't know, they're kind of quasi-judicial. They're not executive or legislative. They're a little bit different in their duties. So they will be meeting here. I don't remember what the 2 matters are that they have before them. And now for a tough one, the building department. At the last meeting, Bob reported that he and I were going to meet with the mayor and a few other people next morning, which we did. I enjoy being invited to those meetings, and although it can be in-depth and pretty assertive, those are very productive meetings, and we got a lot of work done as a result of that meeting. Part of what I discussed publicly is for the last 4 years, we have used Lankin Tully's private sector. He assists us. They have 3 people there that are CEOs and BSI inspectors. The way it worked is they review something with their trained set of eyes, and a supervisor entitled to sign it, whether it was them or Philip, before he got his building inspector 3 credentials. And that's how we did business, and it worked out great, okay? Lankin Tully can no longer provide us with that service. So what I did is I initiated, Kelly got 4 different things that we can do in order to get an assistant for Philip. And of those 4 things, the best decision was to go with a code enforcement officer, and we're going to be going for it part-time to start. Now, when you go less than 20 hours a week, it doesn't have to be competitive, which is what we were hoping for. In a minute, I'm going to explain why. We canvassed the list today for 20 to 29 hours, which will be competitive. I'm hoping for, I'm not going to announce the numbers right here and now, I'm hoping for the rates that we suggested that we get somebody pretty quickly to help Philip out with property maintenance. And listen, so there's been a large cry for the last 7 years I've been here about garbage cans in Highland Falls and about snow removal, and I could spend part of each meeting just having a segment on rectifying what is said on social media. It could be part of it, and the other part is some of the public comments that are made in different places. The building department, I announced this at the last meeting, wrote 21 violations for snow removal not being removed in Highland Falls. And I didn't announce who the big winners were. Some of the big winners are future investors in Highland Falls. I'll leave it at that. They've all been written. Most of them have been adjudicated and processed. So that is being done. The people not shoveling snow are being written up. That is happening. So anybody on social media saying otherwise, it's simply not true to say that, okay? Today I spent most of my day, like I said, with Kelly. I was going to write up, if you go less than 20 hours a week, you have to write up something to put on. We can use Indeed for that purpose. I think we're going to do that in conjunction with going off the county list. I'll write that up and we'll talk about that tomorrow. Now, this morning, I believe that Bob and Phil were going to have a meeting with the mayor and with the AOG on the matters that have been presented in regard to the park, restaurant, and other things. Last week, Philip had a meeting with one of the engineers and the architects involved in that project, and it appears as if we are rapidly approaching rectification, with everybody understanding that the 2-hour fire separation is reality, not politics. I would really like to keep politics out of the building department, okay? Most of the codes are very clear. Philip goes out and enforces them, which a town is obligated to do as being a combined service to the village and the town. We try to be human, and if people wonder where all these codes come from, they come from the cries of citizens complaining about the inadequacies of their neighbors or of other such things. And when they come to government and we are forced to act, we do. So I'm glad when people bring things to our concern. Be careful, because if you come here and say your neighbor's got garbage in his yard and whatnot, we're going to act, and next thing you know, you're going to have another local law, and then you're going to wonder why you can't do anything, which is anecdotal. But so we're very bureaucratic nowadays by virtue of our own design. That's what I have to say about that. And I want everybody to know that Philip will be out for a couple of days with a medical matter. Things are going to go on as they have been, and we're going to get him some part-time help. And that's my report on the building department. DPW, as usual, we all appreciate the good work that the highway department does on snow removal and all the other tasks assigned to them. I did speak with Greg today after the FEMA meeting on the subject of refining some of our MS4 database requirements for infrastructure location. We have diamond maps. You can go out, I don't have it in my pocket now, with a cell phone, and with diamond maps be accurate to within about 10 feet. They want something more, and without being a licensed surveyor or anything else, there's a device which is about $350, which if you get it, you're going to have sub-meter accuracy, which I think is going to be enough. And I think the guys up at the highway department, they have a couple of guys up there that are fluent enough with it, or myself helping out, to be able to accomplish that up there. I think that's about it. I was going to talk a little bit more about something with the DPW, but I can't remember what it was, and I didn't write it down, and that's my report.
Hey, Richie, could I add, only because I found my zoning notes. For the zoning meeting, the two matters are an interpretation and variance application at 3 Villa Parkway in Highland Falls, and another variance application at 111 Firefighters Memorial Drive. So those are the two things.
And I had a whole bunch of other things written down I'm not going to go into, except for one thing. In the village code, I want to put this to bed. Look up code 53. It's canine sanitation. It has nothing to do with being enforced by the Town of Highlands Building Department. So dog poop is another matter, okay? I just want to have people cleared on that matter, and that's it.
Thank you, sir. You sure you're done now?
I'm done.
You sure?
You want me to be done, don't you?
No, not necessarily. Chief, have anything?
The stats for January, we responded to 713 calls for service. 14 were directed patrols. We handled 6 cases, made 4 arrests, initiated 181 traffic stops, wrote 96 tickets, and handled 7 motor vehicle accidents.
I saw that you, in one of your reports, actually was in the newspaper, this aggravating traffic light by the firehouse in Fort Montgomery, that it's on a cycle that it doesn't stop, it's not tripped to stop, it just stops everybody. And most of the time, I'll come out of my place down there and wait for the traffic light. As soon as I pull down the road, I know that's going to click red, and so I don't know.
The deli you're talking about?
Yeah. I don't know if you got any answer out of the.
I don't. We'll take a look and we'll get back.
Because since they worked down there on that drainage, it's been like that, and I'm just wondering if they didn't do something while they were working there that messed it up. But I have a lot of people complaining about it.
I mean, it does work for me when I go to the deli sometimes for a sandwich. I'll go out the back way and and activate it.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about it,
Yeah.
driving up and down.
Yeah. I mean, if it's in there as a speed break, that's an awful short distance to cause a speed break. It doesn't make any sense. So for those of you out there that have complained about it, we are looking into it, we are aware of it. Kelly, do you have anything? No. Justin, do you have anything?
All set, Supervisor.
How about our councilwoman from Cornwall? Does she have anything? You sure? Oh, okay. It's very nice having you here. I appreciate it. I don't think I've met you personally, but unless I did once at the, over on West Point at the Buffalo Soldier. See, I do remember that, yeah. All right, getting to our agenda. The disaster coordinator, I have a quick email here from Kurt Hahn. Thank you for your confidence in guiding your community emergency management initiatives. I wish to continue to serve the Town of Highlands disaster coordinator. Ty, does that work with you?
Yeah, it seems as though the consensus, if I'm not mistaken, the input that I'm getting is that we got some renewed energy, and so therefore people want to see them continue. So I concur.
Sally, do you work with Kurt well?
I do. He's amazing. He knows a lot. He goes all throughout the United States to teach on this also. And I'd also like everyone to say a prayer for him because his daughter is in the hospital right now. She was just diagnosed with lupus. So he's going through a lot also again. But he's wonderful. He knows his stuff. Anytime I call him to ask him a question, he answers the phone immediately. So he's an amazing guy.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to appoint Kurt Hahn as our emergency management officer, and this would be at the stipend in the salary schedule.
For a year?
For a year, for 1 year.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Flood zone insurance. Kelly did a bunch of research on it.
Actually,
Yes.
on the flood insurance, I'm going to ask you to table it until the next meeting because the insurance company is trying to get another quote.
Okay.
So I'd rather wait until we get that last quote.
Okay, well, before we table it and before we get another quote, you said there's some doubt that we're actually in a flood zone in that area?
They're having a hard time determining whether or not the sewer plant is
I
in.
mean, I don't want to get the insurance if we don't need it.
I know, that's why I'd rather wait and make sure.
And even though on everything I own, I guess I have insurance, I look at this, I can't imagine the sewer plant being flooded. Even the flood of July the 9th somehow went on by it. Really, it did some, not damage, but it did some flooding in there. But I don't know how bad we need it down there. I really don't. I look at the river, the railroad tracks. The only problem we have is that stream on the side. But anyway, if the board decides we want it, we'll get it.
I usually get in trouble when I talk too much, so I'll just bite my tongue on this one.
No, don't bite your tongue on
No,
this one.
so Superstorm Sandy, what that did is that was what inspired the grant that you got before I was on the board, and I mean that in a good way. It was a good grant. And part of that grant was down at the plant. It's at elevation 8 or 9 feet above sea level. So during Sandy, you probably had a different kind of flooding, tidal rise, not gushers coming down the hill with amazing amounts of water. As a result of that, that grant required that where we have intricate infrastructure, all the electrical equipment was raised 2.5 feet off the ground, and there were submarine-style doors, which are in existence now, put down there for the sludge building. Even though those pumps are waterproof now, they've been changed. The new sludge building is a high enough elevation that generator's on the concrete pad, has aluminum logs that go around it to protect it in the event that was flooding. So it's kind of protected with its intricate infrastructure as part of that. I think we got $650,000 out of that grant when we spent the $3.1 million. I don't know what that means in terms, is it vulnerable flood-wise? That wasn't from July 9th. That was from Superstorm Sandy being tidal, you know.
And what happened was that stream couldn't go past the railroad tracks. It got that little bridge they have there.
Yep.
It got all jammed up there, and that stream flooded the...
That's right. And that bridge is gone now. The existing one for the trains is there, but the other one was removed by that, so.
So anyway, I just want to be sure that we're sure we want the insurance before we do it.
If you still need data from me, I'm going to give it to you tomorrow, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to read off the budget transfers. And I'll repeat, Justin would rather I take them one by one, but you're shaking his head no.
I've given up that fight.
Oh, you gave it up. Okay. From court attendants, personal services to justices, personal services, $402 over budget due to year-end accrual. Controllers, clerks, personal services to controllers, personal services, $627 over budget. Central services building, town hall utilities, $580. Utilities are higher than budgeted. Building department equipment to building inspector personal services, $475 over budget due to year end. Building department and other expenses, building department clerk, personal services, $1,150 over budget. Superintendent of highways equipment to highway garage, other expenses, $2,301 under budget. Dial-a-bus part-time drivers to dial-a-bus full-time drivers, $300 over budget. Rec programs, other expenses, director, personal services, $460 over budget. Rec programs, other expenses to rec programs, personal services, $1,613 under budgeted. Recreation fuel to summer programs, other expenses, $736 under budgeted. Recreation vehicle maintenance to summer programs, other expenses, $239 under budgeted. Planning contractual to planning clerk personal services, $268 over budget. New York State retirement to codification, $1,137 under budgeted. Legal fees, tax certs, legal fees, prosecutor, $1,033, prosecutor fees higher than budgeted. Ambulance equipment to EMT part-time personal services, $1,108 over budget due to year end. Ambulance equipment, EMT full-time personal services, $1,108. Ambulance equipment to ambulance billing expense, $390 under budgeted, and ambulance equipment to ALS Intercept, $905, which was under budgeted. Any questions from the board? I'll ask the board to approve the budget transfers as stated.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. Olga, tell us about this clean energy intern.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I wanted to recommend to the board that you consider taking on an intern, like we did several years ago when we had Erica Franti come and do an internship interviewing all the residents of Town Hall, and came up, it came up with a report, and it actually led to all of the grants that we've gotten subsequently due to her work. So it was a very productive internship. It led to the audit that was done in Town Hall and all the improvements that the town intends to make to this aging building. So my suggestion is that we take advantage of this NYSERDA Clean Energy Internship Program to take on another intern who would really be the hands-on person to get lined up all of the necessary bids that we need to implement the recommendations of the audit. There's a lot of technical inputs that we got in that audit, and to parse all of those out and determine, what we need to purchase, who we need to purchase it from, to get competitive bids, to work out the budget. That would be really working in conjunction with Councilmember DeWitt, who really was taking lead on that. So it would be really in supporting him in getting all of the pieces in place to actually take advantage of the monies that, we can get to improve the infrastructure here in this building. So NYSERDA has this program. They have actually approved the language that I proposed, so we know that it will work. And they pay up to 90% of the internships cost. So I think the rate they told me currently was like $16.50. So it's like a minimum of 80 hours. We have to really determine if that, if that's sufficient, too much, I don't know. But, it would be a really big help, I think, in terms of getting the work done that we need to do to implement the recommendations of the energy audit.
Okay, where do we start? What do we do?
Well, if you approve, I will submit this request to NYSERDA and wait for their approval. And once they approve, I would like to hire somebody local. So if there's a high school senior, college student who's got some availability and is interested, I hope that they will contact me. If you all know of anybody, please let me know. But NYSERDA does have a database of potential candidates, so we can research that as well. So once we get the okay from them, we can go ahead and get this person on board.
Okay, town board, what do you think?
Yeah, if you look at the last paragraph of the proposal, nothing happens until we approve it, and then she goes ahead and they reimburse 90% after that, so I'll make the motion if you need somebody to do so.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Okay, Olga, go to work. The lady sitting next to you may have a daughter that might be interested in doing this.
So the RISE program at the high school, they're looking for these kids this semester and next semester have to do internships. I actually reached out to the class to see if anyone was interested in potentially doing this, if it went forward. They are in the process of looking to see if there's anyone that may be interested in doing it.
Very good.
Unfortunately, my daughter right now, not unfortunately, fortunately, her internship's going to be with animals. So I don't think we're going that way. But one thing I want to say, I don't know if our community knows how lucky we are to have an Olga Anderson. She does so much for this community with looking for grants and how to try to make it better, that sometimes we take things for granted. And I just want to say thank you. No, it's true.
Absolutely.
Okay, I attended a meeting with representatives of AOG. I think the mayor actually called for the meeting. There were two representatives from AOG, a couple other people from West Point, the mayor. I'm just trying to think of who all was there. And there was an agenda put out, and we spoke about various things. First of all, what the AOG is, and what their future plans are, the park restaurant success of the future businesses, ideas for effective collaboration, we scheduled a meeting for this week, but it was built, the meeting was built around our building inspector, who is unfortunately not available right now. He's having a medical problem. We did talk about the park restaurant and what they need to do to get it going. They talked about Westie's, hoping to get that opened. So it was a nice meeting. It was a nice meeting. It was a friendly meeting, and I'm looking forward to more of them. And it's in the mayor's hands, obviously, because we're talking about Main Street, Highland Falls, but we'll have more meetings and talk more. Coming soon, Saturday, March the 1st, Historical Society will present a very special lecture on Buffalo soldiers by noted author Brian Shellham. This will take place at the Highland Falls Library at 12 noon. And that's all I have. Town board, do you have anything more? Nope. Public comment, anybody, anything?
You're not going to say anything, Jimmy? We'd love to hear from you. I would anyway. Like to, no matter how anybody votes or anybody feels about it, I'd like to congratulate Jimmy and the Village of Highland Falls Board for I think they adopted in full and finally their new master plan code, whatever you want to call it, with their final numbers on the square feet on lot area per dwelling unit, and dwelling unit is a dimensionless number. So congratulations on that. I know it was a lot of work for people back and forth on that. We're prepared to enforce that code, which I have a copy of. So is Philip. That's what we're gearing up for, all that stuff. Just want to say, with the AOG and whatnot, like, I want to keep politics out of it. So I'll paraphrase for Philip a little bit. He called me on Saturday, very enthusiastic, because he had a meeting after hours with their engineer architect with regard to the park restaurant, who understood the need and the requirement for the 2-hour separation. So whatever happened over the last couple of months, including social media discussion and whatnot, that was just wasted time. So they know they have to do it. They're pretty aware of what the magnitude of it is, which isn't Mount Everest, and I think that they're moving forward on that, and I look forward to them moving forward on a lot of things. Just keep the politics out of the building department, that's all.
Absolutely. Anyone? Anything? A motion to adjourn.
I do have one thing.
Yep. Come on.
So there's, American Legion, there's disco night is happening at the American Legion. When is it? The 15th. Go online on Facebook or whatever with the chamber and/or the special events committee Facebook, and you can take a look at that. It explains the whole thing. It's $20 a person. That includes the food. There's going to be a huge buffet. There's going to be raffles, a whole lot of fun. 100% of it goes to the American Legion as a fundraiser.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Jen?
Evening, Board. Yeah, just one thing. I mean, Rich brought some stuff up. Just wanted to let everybody know, yes, we got the code more or less straightened out. I was 98% comfortable with what was in that, and I so noted that at the meeting. I just want everybody to know that, and developers, there's 21 acres of land in the business district, in the B1 business district, that we just changed the code to make it more friendly to get builders and developers in here. 21 acres. Now, that doesn't mean somebody's going to come in and tear everything down, but there are lots that can be consolidated and be built on in a very smart growth manner. And I know the AOG has some other lots like across the street. And if they would like, I have got some, I hate to say it like this, but cartoon plans. In other words, just dirty sketches of what actually could transpire should they want to consolidate some of those lots. And we could make that, and I'm going to throw this up to Mr. McCormick, God bless his soul. He wanted to make Main Street West behind the buildings on that side. And with the new code, I think we could do that with the consolidation of some of the lots.
Thank you, Jimmy.
What are you talking about, Main Street? Where exactly on Main Street?
So it would be behind the buildings, Andy's and all of that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And there's a lot of land there
Yeah.
that has the potential, and it's my, I guess, throwing a name at the wall. What else could it be called? Main Street West. So it would actually have some type of a connection around the back. The buildings back there, the newly built ones, because I do this for a living, could have commercial space on the bottom with a lot of residential on the top. So you're not going to lose the residential that's there, but the potential to have more commercial business on the bottom or office space, I think, would be a fantastic thing. And like I said, I want to give props to Mr. McCormick about that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
I'm just going to add that, like, a lot of people are focused on restaurants and whatnot, and I, for one, like living here. I have not lost faith in Highland Falls or Fort Montgomery ever. 30 years ago, when I started my journey in politics, or whatever you want to call it, public service, on the planning board, we redid the comprehensive plan with the village at the same time back in 2006. And it didn't stink. Drive through Fort Montgomery, which is not a main street, it's a thoroughfare. And there's only 2 empty lots, if I'm not mistaken. And you have Bear Mountain Pizza, which burned down 2 years ago and recovered. They're operational. They have tentative approval to have a restaurant if they want to. That's already done with the planning board. You have your restaurant, you have American Burrito. I do this all the time. You have Dunkin' Donuts. You have that very successful deli down there. You have an electrician that has a place where the Exxon used to be. The Bagel Cafe is empty. But you go up, you have Barnstormers. I forget to mention him all the time. I apologize, Jeffrey, for that. Barnstormers. You have the gas station area. You have the Holiday Inn, which has another unit approved and ready to break ground going right there, along with a proposed restaurant that could go in there. You have Fort Fitness for those of you that feel the need to shape up. And then you go up to Bosch's Garage, which is the only repair shop left in town. Maybe restaurants aren't the only thing we need. There's other things that are required to make a Main Street a real Main Street. I know Alan retired, he's still doing it part-time, but to my knowledge, there is nowhere else to get your car repaired in Highland Falls. So it's not just restaurant. There's a lot of potential for a lot of things, and I'm looking forward to see it come into fruition.
Councilman King, you got something to say?
Great discussion, folks. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I make the motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.